Am I on? Okay, I'm sorry. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call this March 11th, 2025 Finance meeting to order. I will at this time yield the floor to Chairman Keller.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been asked, due to a time commitment by the presenter, that if we could go ahead and look at item number 7 first. So item number 7 is discussion, information, presentation regarding the church and auxiliary building, sponsored by Paul Gray on behalf of Mr. It's Pistone, correct? Yes. Okay, I wanted to make sure I was saying that correctly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last month, Mr. Pistone had come and spoken to the council about inquiring about going to partnership with the city for a community playhouse, and that is community theater type thing, not a playhouse, but so everybody understands. And we asked him to come back this month with what he found. He toured the buildings. I went with him along with an environmental engineer. We toured the facility. And so we had him scheduled back, and I know the mayor's, I heard from the mayor that there might be some other folks that might be interested in the building as well, but I didn't know if Mr. Pistone, if you wanted to add anything that you had since we had that discussion. I know you're also seeking financing and all that kind of stuff, so I didn't know. We asked you to come back with an update this month, and if you do, we've also got visuals up here too that he had prepared, if you'd like to do that. Sure. Okay.
Good evening again. So as he mentioned, we toured through the building. Oh, I'm sorry.
For the record.
I'm John Pistone with the Russellville Playhouse. So we toured the building with the environmental group and a few other people to try to assess what might need to be done. We believe there would be asbestos as well as lead. So where we are, we've been kind of pricing out what it would possibly be to either renovate the buildings, trying to get that hard cost, to either renovate it or to knock down the auxiliary building and put another building up. And some of the concepts that we have for if we were going to erect another building, we've got kind of on a slide. Is that what I'm showing
Yeah.
here? Okay. Do I need to hit anything or does it come up?
No, there they are.
So this was kind of the first concept. We're looking because of the cost factor of utilizing a metal building, but then, as I mentioned before, using brick down at the bottom to, sponsored bricks. And then the next slide, please.
Just hit the down arrow.
Oh, I have to hit it. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm the down arrow?
On the,
There we
the
go.
bottom right.
There we go. I got
you
it.
go.
This is the ideal. If we were to build, have to rebuild, that's kind of what we've kind of decided would be our ideal as far as exterior. And we'd be looking at like a 40 by 60 building, a 2-story. These are some of the insides of what we figured the layout might be.
So for people who are familiar with a black box, this would be sort of a black box
Kind of like a
type theater.
black box. It's the concept would be so that the space can be moved around, the stage can be moved around depending on your production. So if we wanted to do a proscenium stage like this or a thrust stage, you can have the audience on 3 sides if we wanted. So there's a few different, that's the joy of kind of building a warehouse style theater, is that you have the freedom to do that. And it kind of gives you just some opportunities to play with whatever kinds of productions you're going to do. And this is, of course, if we're going to build a new theater. We're getting the price on that right now. All the quotes that we've gotten so far, without it being hard, is less than $250,000 to do this. So yeah, the building itself is about $78,000 to $100,000. The metal building, and then all the other stuff around it. So we're still anticipating doubling that, is what I'm being told in quotes. We haven't got anything firm yet, but I would anticipate, I always like to overshoot and hopefully come in under. So again, we're in the very early stages. We don't know what it would cost to renovate as of yet. We'll still have to do an environmental study and all of those things. So that's where we are.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions for Mr. Pistone?
So is your plan now to raise the buildings and put something like one of
We're
those in
exploring
its
both,
place?
we're exploring both options. Ideally, in an ideal world, I'd rather raise the auxiliary, just the auxiliary building, not the church. The church would still stay there. But raise the auxiliary building and then build the metal structure with the brick around it. That would be my ideal. However, it might not be cost effective. So I'm wanting to find out which is more cost effective to renovate or to build new. And that's, like I said, that's where we are. We haven't got a cost yet on what it would be to renovate, and we haven't done an environmental study yet, so.
What would the time frame be on raising the money for that?
12 to 18 months?
Okay. And then you can build after that, or you build while you're, how does that usually work when you've done this before?
Well, I haven't built one before, so
Okay.
that would be new to me. I took over a space and we built out. We had a 4-month build out of my last theater, of the space. We took over a warehouse space and we had a 4-month build out. We had our first show up in 4 months. Something like this, I'm anticipating, again, 18 to 24 months within that time frame, realistically.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I think we had tearing down that auxiliary building.
Yes.
Possibility of doing that. Do you have?
As a matter of fact, I got the estimate today, and it was $78,000 just to tear it down. So, just because of the environmental. So, the environmental was $78,000 just to tear it down. So,
And that's disposal of the asbestos
yes,
and everything?
yeah. Cool.
Do you want to share with them what the environmental engineer said about tearing it down, though?
Yeah, he said, again, if you're gonna go the route of tearing it down because of what the environmental guy said at EEG, he explained to me that because Russellville sits on a river, that it could be really it may be cost prohibitive to try to build anything else on there because underneath is just mush.
It is. I don't even know if that lot would perk right now. I really don't. I walked on that the other
He
day, and it was
advised
crazy.
to rehab the building.
And so, yeah.
He said if you tear it down, you get into, he said there's probably going to be soupy down there.
Yeah.
And by the time you start filling it in, you're going to be filling for a long time
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not be able to build. So,
okay.
and all you have to do is look like one block from there, creeks running
Yeah.
underneath buildings that goes underneath everything downtown. So
What, Mr. Stoney, I don't have anything else, I don't think. But where I'm at as day-to-day operations of the city, we have 3 other entities that are willing to buy the property right now that are ready to buy. So I don't know how, and Mr. Smith, you may be able to advise us on this. We have 4 entities involved in this situation right now, and my idea, and I don't know if it's a legal idea, so please advise me, Mr. Smith, is if we would allow all 4 of the entities to bring a presentation to the council, because it's not my decision, it's your decision as the council to how we move forward with this asset. So if we would allow all 4 entities to bring their presentation to the council, and then the council would have to make a decision based on those presentations of what we would do. There are 3, like I say, there is one gentleman that wants to open up do a playhouse. He has the money. We're not involved in it at all. He'll buy it and pay for everything. We have a gentleman that wants to just save the church as a historical building, and he'll put something in there. We don't know exactly what that will be. And then we also have a gentleman that is willing to buy the building and put some type of educational business in there for downtown. So that would benefit local students. So just to kind of give you an idea, that's where we're at. We've got 4 entities. So Mr. Smith, can you advise us on legally how we would have to proceed in a situation like that when you have 4 different entities and interested in the same city property?
I think you could just have the presentations as long as they're in public. I don't see any problem with you scheduling them however you want to do it.
Would they need to submit actual financial offers in those, or could they submit financial offers in sealed bids and then give presentations of on top of their what they're going to do, or does the actual financial offer have to come in the actual presentation? Because I'm looking at, if I'm number one presenter and I present this number and I come up number two, well, I can raise my, I can raise my or I can raise my financial submitting. I'm trying to figure out how to work through that.
Right. If the council decides that's what they want to auction off by bid, the property, then we'd go the sealed bid routes. And then I guess there'd be an educational presentation without any financial.
Good.
It comes
So
down
could you use both of those in making the decision? Could you use, I'm trying not to take up forever, could you use the sealed bids based on the financials and then take a presentation from each one of them? And could the council weigh in, are you locked into the actual financial number, or can you weigh in what the council would believe would be the best for the city long-term for the use of the building? Am I stating that right? Can you
Right.
use both of those and weigh to make a decision?
You could, I believe.
Okay.
Again, it comes down to which direction the council wants to go as to whether they want to sell it and how they want to proceed on that matter. And then,
Or
of
with
course,
Ms. Stoney partner, Mr. Stoney
Right.
partner with him, yes.
that's correct.
I would not be in favor of doing bids yet, just because of all the landmines that you've presented there. I would be more interested in conceptually what people are wanting to put here right by City Hall. So I would much rather see or listen to ideas about what people want to do before we start getting into bids, because that just feels like,
Okay. And that's,
to me, that's just me.
I'm just asking legally what we have to do, and then you guys can decide which way we go from there.
I'm just one person though, so if
Yes, sir.
anybody else got any
Anyone?
ideas?
Could we, I don't know if we necessarily want to tack it on to the agenda prep, and this is kind of a special situation, so could we potentially have a special call meeting where the 4 interested parties come in and give presentations as to their vision for the property?
I'm fine with that if
I'm all
if the
in for
council
that.
chooses
Yeah.
to do that. Mr. Olson?
I would actually be on the flip side of that and say that money has a lot to do with my decision on the concept of it. If I got 2 concepts and one's, $60,000 different than the other, then that's going to sway my decision that way, because if you just go with one concept, then they're going to come back and jack the price on you because you know what they want, what you want to do.
Yeah, but Mr. Pistoni's presentation, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, is this would be no cost to the city. He's just using, because of his experience in Los Angeles and being an actor his whole life, is that the best theaters work when you can get in a public partnership. It's like he and I were talking before, that cities have parks. They don't make money, but it's just part of what a good city has, and this is something Russellville's missing. So what I'm interested in is what if it's not going to cost the city any money, we still own the property, whereas we get into some of these others where we get dollar amounts flying around and then it doesn't work. For example, business closes in a year, we've got something sitting behind us, we don't have any control over it. So that's the kind of philosophical conversations I want to have before we may go with one. Somebody may offer something that's awesome, and they're going to pay a lot of money for it or whatever.
Yeah, and that all goes into the discussion for me. So
Yeah.
You don't necessarily pick the one with the highest price. It's not a bidding project. It's all, and I think that's what the mayor was getting at, was an all-inclusive, like, do we like this idea and the money that goes with it? It doesn't necessarily mean that we go to the highest bidder. It means, do we like this concept for this money and this concept for no money, or that, how it's the full dynamic, but I feel like money is a major part of it.
Oh,
whatever
absolutely.
question.
I'm just not sure. I guess maybe I just don't feel like I'm ready for that. I just want to see conceptually what their ideas are for that space back there. And what the mayor said, I wrote them all down. They all seem okay to me, but
Yeah.
I'd still like to hear more specifics before I'm comfortable.
I just wanted to know how to proceed to ask them to.
I think
if they can come to-
Mr.
If Mr. Keller wants to call a special call meeting, then
I
I can
think the
I can
chairman
notify
is
them and
right
they
to-
can make a
to do that.
presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I just agree with Councilman Olson and say that as far as Mr. Pistone's use of the property, to me, we can weigh that because he's building value in an asset that we would still
Oh,
own.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, he's just not going to come in with a big offer, because that's not how this is going to work.
Well, that's why I was
Yeah.
asking, that's why I was asking, could we weigh, did we have to take the highest bid, or could we take other things into consideration? And I think Mr. Smith said we could. So I wanted to make sure that we were safe doing that. Okay.
Anything else for Mr. Pistone? Because he's got a meeting with potential Playhouse members here in a little while, so,
Thank you, Mr. Pistone.
thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Pistone.
I think if we could have a special call meeting sometime end of this month, beginning of next.
You know, we'll work
Well,
on trying to
I
find
wasn't necessarily looking at you. I was kind of just in.
looking outside.
Yeah, I was kind of just staring off into space there. We can.
Oh,
So in the middle of spring break,
or the first, which is, let me, wait, I'm out of town then, I'm sorry. I'm in DC.
the whole week.
I'm in DC Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yeah.
That's fine with me.
April 7th, yeah, if you'll send an invitation out for that, that would be good.
Five-
And that gives
Are we
you
thinking
guys plenty,
5:30?
that gives you almost a month to come up with a presentation, so.
Are we
Maybe
thinking-
5:30. And if they want to put in, like, and we want to buy it, you know, and this is our idea for the investment we want to put into this project and this and that, that's perfectly fine. That's part of their pitch.
Yeah.
You know, whereas someone else, the pitch may be, you know, intangibles as opposed to dollars.
I just feel if you're making a public presentation, you know, the first person that gives the number is at a disadvantage. The next person can, I think you would want to put your bids in prior to, so that, or, you know, in a sealed way. I guess an auction is the exact opposite, though. You sit there and outbid each other, so I don't know.
So that's April 7th at 5:30,
Okay,
correct?
yeah. April 7th, 5:30, if you'll send out a calendar invite, that'd
Do
be
we
great.
want to do it up here, or do we want to do it downstairs?
Up here,
Okay. Yes, ma'am, we're going to do it up
Yes,
here.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
taking care of business.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Keller.
Okay, back to the top of the agenda. Item 1 is consideration of a resolution to accept a bid for the Waterloo Avenue and East Second Street improvements for the city of Russellville, and to authorize the mayor and the city clerk treasurer to enter into a contract with Hard Rock Construction for this project. I move we send item 1 to the full council with a recommendation of approval.
Second.
Any discussion on item 1? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? What's? Yeah. No. I'm sorry. Did you want to discuss it? I'm sorry.
He
Okay.
just didn't hear the second. He
Oh.
didn't hear the second. He didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All those opposed? Item 1 is forwarded. Item number 2 is consideration of a resolution to accept a bid for the DNR Railroad Alley on 7th Street and 8th Street improvements for the city of Russellville, and to authorize the mayor and the city clerk treasurer to enter into a contract with Hard Rock Construction for the project. Move item 1 be forwarded to the full council with a recommendation of approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Item 2 is forwarded. Item 3 is an appropriation from the 2024 general fund carryover balance in the sum of $794,506.25. to be transferred from the general fund to the capital asset fund for airport apron reconstruction phase 1. Now, this is the grant that came through from the FAA.
It is a
and
grant, and it will be reimbursed.
Yeah.
This will just basically, this is transferring one fund to finance it, and then we'll get a refund on this.
Okay.
100%?
And 100%.
It says
right?
100%, it'll be 100% of this will come back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's awesome.
we're just swapping money for a period of time.
I move item 3 be forwarded to the full council with a recommendation of approval. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 3? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Item 3 is forwarded to the full council. Item 4 is an appropriation from the 2021 Parks and Rec Special Fund Reserve in the amount of $9,500 to purchase design services for the Russellville Skate Park expansion. And item 4A is consideration of a resolution for the city of Russellville to authorize the mayor and the city clerk treasurer to enter in an agreement with Primary Concrete to procure design services for the expansion of the Russellville Skate Park. Move items 4 and 4A to the full council with a recommendation of approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on items 4 or 4A? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving items 4 and 4A to the full council? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, items 4 and 4A shall be forwarded. Item 5 is consideration of an ordinance approving the private club permit for La Union Social Club Incorporated and allowing the application of the required permits from the Arkansas Alcoholic Beverage Control Division per Arkansas Code.
Is this the restaurant that used to be the C-Max or whatever? Yeah. Okay.
I thought they were going to come, but they didn't. That she had contacted me, and she's requesting that this be read twice, and then an emergency clause. Apparently, there's a backup at the ABC, and she's trying to get it on in May or June rather than August or September, because it's kind of out that much.
Okay.
So I move item, go ahead. I move item 5 to the full council with a recommendation of approval.
Second.
Okay. Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Item 5 is forwarded. Item 6 is a discussion regarding the transfer of Fund 03 and Fund 25 from Centennial Bank to First Security Bank. This is sponsored by our finance director.
This is just us moving some money from Centennial Bank to First Security Bank in an effort to build a relationship with another bank in city of Russellville. So that's what we're doing, just moving it from one interest-bearing account to another interest-bearing account. These are two funds that we don't use a lot, and so we're just trying to build relationships with another bank in town, if that makes sense.
Are the interest rates
They're
similar?
in the 4 range. I'm not sure exactly what Centennial's giving us right now because it varies every month, but I know we're a little over 4. We're at 4 or above at First Security, so we're in that ballpark. So
Okay.
So
we're not getting we were getting like 5 something from Centennial for a while, but it's not what it used to be. So
we
we're-
don't have to have a vote on this or anything tonight? Looks like
well,
it's
I
just
don't.
for
It
discussion.
goes now. What is it? How does Mr. Smith? What does this come? It'll be on the finance next week with a resolution to do that. So it'll be a resolution next week on finance. Is
Okay.
what it'll be if we so choose. Or we just wanted to ask, I just want to explain to you guys what we would be doing. So
And you'll have the percentages.
I can get we'll have to get. I know we're at 4 at First Security. I'm not sure what we're at Centennial right now because it is a rotate. It goes different every month. So I could but I know I have to look and see where we're at last. I do know we're not in the 5 range anymore at Centennial, I'm sure of that, so. Yeah.
Is there any more discussion on item number 6? Okay, the last item on our agenda this evening is discussion regarding Phoenix Innovation parking lot and open discussion for the, about the entire situation surrounding the parking lot repair and resurface. I believe this is the mayor is asked to put this on.
Mr. Nate Harrison is asked to put this discussion on. I believe, Mr. Keller, you're the only one that may have actual personal knowledge of this. I did, and I apologize for the late, you did get this email in case you wanted it in digital form, but there is a hard copy sitting at your station with the paperwork that I was provided. Some of this is emails provided to me by Mr. Harrison. Some of this is stuff provided from, I don't know if it'd be Chamber Economic Alliance, letters from Mr. Paul Harville, some from AEDC that you received in your packet. Mr. Harrison, if you would approach the podium, and please, for the sake of all those at home, because we know who you are, but for the sake at home, if you'll just state your name so that everyone can know who you are.
Sure, I'm Nate Harrison, President of Phoenix Innovations. So was Resolution 1961 distributed in the packets of information that they received?
Let me see. If it is, it's in the back.
And thank you all for letting me come today. I appreciate it.
I know, yeah, so. I don't think 1961's in here, I do apologize. Well, no, there was a resolution. I don't know if I've been provided. No, I got 2044. Resolution, I was not provided that, so.
Sure. So Resolution 1961 is the resolution authorizing the sale of the Dalton King Packaging Building to Phoenix Innovations. It also has in the back 2 schedules, Schedule A, cellar repairs, and Schedule B, buyer improvements.
Oh, we have the installment contract is what I did provide for them, and that may be part of that 1961.
I think that was, that came out of 1961.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
okay, I just didn't
Yes,
do
sir.
the actual.
What was the title of the 2 schedules again?
Schedule A was cellar repairs, which the seller would have been the city of Russellville, and Schedule B is buyer improvements.
I didn't have that part, I just had the
And
contract.
when we began to negotiate for the Dalton King Packaging Building, we were negotiating with Paul Harville and the Chamber of Commerce and the Alliance. And we had certain criteria to meet based on city guidelines to employ 50 individuals within 3 years. We also had on the grant side, we were going to spend a certain amount of money on the building. And we also provided all of this information to the AEDC as well. We also offer more than 51% of our jobs to low to moderate income and other financially depressed areas. So basically, we accomplished all of the goals that we were required from the state and the city point of view to qualify for the building and also to qualify for a $240,000 grant from the AEDC. Now, a portion of cellar repairs, which you guys don't have a copy of, but I do if anybody'd like to see
No,
it.
they should have that copy. They should have, that's going to be on the end of your that'll be your last page, your last 2 pages, I believe. Schedule A, correct?
Yes.
Yes, they have that.
Okay.
They just don't have the resolution part.
Oh, no problem. So as you'll see, existing parking lot repaired and resurfaced was the first ask that we had of the city when it came to the Dalton King Packaging Building. Now, for clarity and transparency, we did go back to Paul and say, Paul, we will try and get funding from the state to do this parking lot and security fence, which is item 3, from the state grant. And in the emails that Mayor Teague referenced from Bentley's story, and it would have been on Wednesday, April the 6th of 2022, the state came back and told us that the initial request for assistance was for fence and parking lot improvements. However, using CDBG funds for real property projects creates much more red tape, including environmental studies, additional timing, etc. Under CDBG funds for equipment is much easier on all parties involved and can be accessed much faster. So we're committing $240,000 for equipment in lieu of the fence and parking lot work which should free up company funds, which are not restricted. At this point, I went back to Paul Harville and Mayor Harris at the time to tell him that we no longer had the funding for fence and parking lot and that it needed to stay on the schedule for cellar repairs. Now-
When did the contract close, the installment?
The installment contract.
Yeah,
would
when
have
you
closed-
said-
I believe we started our payments January of 2023. Is that correct?
No. No, when did you sign the agreement that was on the resolution? When did you sign I don't have a signed contract in front of me. My contract is not dated and signed.
On the resolution that I have, this was done on the 12th day of October 2021.
October 2021.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So was that when that was signed?
That's when it shows to be signed, yes, sir.
Do we have this?
It is you, but we don't have the signed copy. The one you have is in, so I'm trying to find.
I know, but I'm just looking for the date and what.
That's what I'm trying to figure out because.
If I can approach, I can provide you with the signed copy.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Because Mr. Smith has it, okay. Does that have a date? Oh, that's October 21. Is that when they exercise that? Would you assume that that's when that was, because that's 5 months before the email.
Yes, sir.
So you sign, okay. I'm trying to track you. Okay. I don't,
Yeah, so during the negotiations for the Dalton King Packaging Building, we negotiated the cellar and the repairs and the buyer improvements.
and that was signed on October of 21.
That's correct. And
Yeah.
so as of October of 2021, we signed, and so seller and buyer improvements were in place on October 12th of 2021. Now, in that time, out of good faith, we decided that we would attempt to save the city some money by trying to get the grant funding for the parking lot and the security fence. And in 2022, in the email that I referenced from Bentley Story, you'll see that we were denied that, and we were told that we needed to use the $240,000 for equipment rather than parking lot and security fence. Had we been able to use it for parking lot and security fence, we would have done so, and we would have taken that off the seller repair list that was in the resolution.
I'm scrambling and going through this paperwork to get a hold on everything.
Would
but
you like to have him come back? I mean,
I would, because
I think he, like I say, he just wanted to bring this up and start a conversation. I think Mr. Harrison wanted to start this conversation.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm just not ready to commit to anything right now.
No, I understand that.
I don't think Mr. Harrison was walking in here wanting a commitment. He was just,
No.
Mr. Harrison genuinely wanted to just open this conversation and get this dialogue started.
I did, and one of the things I want to put forward is this has gone on so long. We've already put in the security fence and paid for the security fence with our own funds. I'm willing to forego anything from the city on item 3 on the cellar repairs. We're willing to mark item 3 off. I've got receipts here for the $62,000 that we've already paid for the security fence, which was actually more than what we had asked for to begin with. And I'm perfectly willing to forego that. I would just like to get the parking lot repaired and resurfaced. And the latest bids that we got, and we only got one, and I know we might require 3, was from Blackstone Construction, local construction company, for $200,000. So just so you guys are aware of the amount that we're talking about here, it's somewhere in the range of $200,000, but it would need to be rebid with current pricing. Okay. That was done last October of 2023 when we got the last bid on the parking lot.
Is that I'm looking at a letter that says AEDC commits up to $240,000 to the city of Russellville. Is that for new equipment purchases? Is that what you're? Is that related to what you're talking about?
That's correct. That's exactly right. So the $240,000, we originally asked for the parking lot and fence to try and alleviate the cost from the city. We were actually trying to save the city the money of having to do that by getting it from the government. When the state government came back and said, you cannot use it for this, I contacted Mayor Harris and Paul Harville and said, hey, the city, or the state is not going to let us use this funding for that. We're going to use it for equipment. We need to leave this on the seller repair side.
Okay. So the 240 is not happening now?
No, it's already happened.
Oh, it's already-
Yes, it
We've
happened.
we've
It
already got a
happened.
grant, and the city's already paid them $240,000 from the grant.
Yes,
Okay.
it has been funded in full.
Okay.
So I was on the council back then with Mr. Keller, and I just understood that we were gonna pay for those, so I don't understand why we haven't yet. I mean, that's what concerns me, is he's fulfilled his end of the obligation, we should do ours, and in fact, he's meeting us in the middle on it. Because everything that I've heard him say is the way that I remember it from them as well, so, I don't know, take that for what it's worth.
Where is this exactly?
So the Dalton King Packaging Building is now the Phoenix Innovations Building. It's located at 4254 South Arkansas. So if you know where Stella Jones manufactures the railroad ties, at the very Thompson Industrial Park, the very last right-hand turn off of Highway 7 South prior to the Dardanelle Bridge.
So access to that is through Stella Jones, or is that, or have you got your own road? Because I'm on Google Maps and can't.
It is a private road shared jointly by Stella Jones and
Okay.
Phoenix Innovations.
Because I was
And-
trying to figure out, I'm very visual, I got to see things, and I was trying, how do I get back there?
Yes, sir,
Other than
absolutely.
taking a canoe on Wig Creek.
It's very simple. If you'll just take the right off of Highway 7 and then a right into Thompson Industrial Park, we're on the right-hand side. Just for current numbers, we're now up to 63 employees. Our monthly payroll is over $300,000 in salaries. We buy a lot of local things that cost us more, but we believe in Russellville and we believe in local purchasing. We are a global company now. We were not when we started. We operate in Canada, Australia. We're all over the United States. So we quadrupled in size last year alone in revenue. So we're trying to do our part, both for the tax base and for the employees of Phoenix Innovations.
My question, and I wasn't trying to be antagonistic, I was just trying to get a handle on what we were discussing.
No, I'm glad you did, because the information needs to be shared as far as there's transparency on exactly what came from the state, what was supposed to come from the state, where that generated from, how all the ideas came about. So unfortunately, Mr. Harville's not with us anymore. He was an asset during this entire purchase, and so we leaned heavily on him while he was negotiating for the chamber and for the alliance.
Okay, I need time to digest this and figure out where we are. And I'm with Mr. Olson that, I wasn't on the council then, so I don't know what to think, but it's hard to read something like this in the amount of time I had to read. I haven't had
So,
time to
and
read it.
like I
so-
say, I think this is just opening a
Yeah,
dialogue tonight.
yeah.
Tonight was
Yes.
just open a dialogue, get this in your radar as a council so that we can start moving forward, I think is the goal. So, and I do apologize get this information to you late, so. But you have that, so what would you guys like to do? Would you like to see Mr. Harrison come back at next agenda prep next month? Would that be okay
Yes.
with you?
Well, hey,
Or do you want to have an individual meeting with him when you have the special call meeting? Do you want to be able to have him come in
Well, so
on
yeah,
that
we
same
can-
special call meeting?
We can kill two birds with one stone on the 7th.
Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
Would that be okay with you, April 7th, to be able to come in and have a private meeting?
April
Well, not a
7th.
private meeting. It will be publicly. It'll be a public meeting. Pardon me, guys. I didn't mean to say
I
that.
won't
but
come into a private meeting.
No,
Mayor
no,
T.
it'll be a public meeting. There are no private meetings, but we will have a public meeting concerning the Boulder Avenue Church and then also Phoenix Innovation Industry contract, if that makes sense.
What time?
5:30 would be when we would start that. So honestly, I would anticipate probably about 6 o'clock for you if you want to show up about 6, because I would anticipate the presentation's taking at least 30 minutes on that Boulder Avenue Church, possibly maybe longer.
Sure.
But that way, I think you'll be a lot more informal discussion, and that way the council will be able to look at all of that information, so.
No problem at all, and I'll make sure that I don't have any conflicts on that date,
Okay.
but I will verify with Gina prior to.
Oh, yeah, and if
having-
you don't, if you do, just let us know.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
Mayor, that was the last item on our agenda, and I
Okay. All
yield
right.
the floor to you.
All right, we will adjourn for just about 60 seconds, so Ms. Skelton can get a piece of paper and bring it back. What? I told them, okay, are we not for accessory dwelling units? Yeah, I told them I was. What do you mean ownership?
I thought I'd be up here so we can get
Or
it.
do we have a zoning code amendment? Where, now, yeah, but that's, yeah, okay, let me, wait just a second. Where did my thing, okay, here we go. I got confused. Okay, yeah, I'll call you up and have you just talk just for a second. No, wait. Okay, okay. It's a, okay, all right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get this March 11th, 2025 agenda prep in line, get going. So at this time, we will need to, where is the packet? We'll need to decide who's going to pray. I had that list on I have that list, okay. How,
Justin has a gentleman on here that what's his name? I'm sorry. I didn't have his contact information. Okay, I'll look at it. He's got another person.
oh, okay. Did we do like a random number generator
Yeah, I
last
got it
time?
ready. How many do we have on the list that are
Oh, geez.
taking off the one that was?
We're gonna have to get
did
that
last
list number
month?
because I can't count every time. It's got more than that, man. It's not gonna do that.
All right. Twelve.
12, number 12, and then let's do.
Your backup is 14. And your third backup is 18.
12 is your number one. That's your one,
14
and 14 is your second. 14 is your second.
and 18.
Yeah. Yeah. And then 18 is going to be your third. Yeah. Okay, so we have those, and Miss Skelton will get those. Thank you. All right, so then we're going to go on, and we're going to have a departmental report from Mr. Kenneth Duval.
Only have one project to report on. It's the East Main Sidewalk Project, going very well, nearing completion. So I'm sure everyone's seen it driving down the road, looking very nice. So they got driveways to do and a drainage issue they're having to work on, but I think that's pretty much it.
Is that sidewalk that's the first part that's elevated by the bridge, is that going to have rails on it or no?
Yes, there's
It
going
is
to be
gonna
some
have- okay.
rails.
Yep, everything's looking good. We're getting a lot of good positive feedback of that area right
Yes.
now.
I think it will be used a lot.
It will be. That will definitely be used. And not only will it be used, but it'll be a safety issue. So we'll have people out of the road. For those driving, we won't have people on the
It's
road. So that's
amazing
good.
what a penny can do.
It is amazing what a penny can do. So,
That's correct.
thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right. Okay, going into unfinished old business now. we'll have a consideration ordinance rezoning certain property at City of Russellville. This is the property at South Vancouver and West 12th Street. This is the third and final reading. And so we don't necessarily have anyone that actually needs to speak on this. If no one needs to speak on it, we're good. Mr. Garza, you don't have to speak on it, do you? But you're available? Yeah, I'm just... you're available? Yeah. Okay. 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 We did have a, what did we call that, Trey? You had, one town hall, it was a public hearing. Yes, public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Smith. And we had a public hearing downstairs last Tuesday, I believe. Had quite a few people in attendance. Thank you, Mr. Rude, and all who were at home that came out and shared their opinions. And so we will be, that'll be our third and final reading coming up next Thursday. So anybody have any questions on that at all? All right. It is very well discussed, as Mr. Smith said last week.
I just wanted to say thank you for having that because I feel like it was very informative, and I think it did help ease some concerns of some of the residents.
Yes.
So.
And I appreciate Mr. Garza and the whole Barrett and Associates team and the Rude family for coming out and helping us out or being transparent. Item 2 is going to be a consideration ordinance to rezone certain property from R1 to R2 medium density residential located along 1000 block of Esquire Way, submitted by William Strait on behalf of Melcor Construction. This is going to be the second of 3 readings. We move on to new business. Consideration ordinance authorizing the extension of sewer outside the city limits of the city of Russellville, Arkansas to 1285 East Gum Street for other purposes. This is submitted by Nicholas Haggerty. And Mr. Haggerty, you have is Mr. Haggerty here? You're Mr. Haggerty. If you choose to approach the podium and please state your name for those at home.
My name's Nicholas Haggerty, the property owner at 1285 East Gum Street. Hoping to extend the sewer from the manhole that's located at the northeast corner of East Elm Street. Go north under East Gum and tie into my property where I want to build 7 townhouses.
Okay. And so, Ms. John Dahl or Mr. Newman, can you give us any backstory on this? Because this is an extension of outside the city limits, and who is going to be, are you going to be paying for this, Mr. Haggerty? Is that the situation? So then so we're just basically going to give you the authorization to do this, and is there any issues at all, Ms. John Dahl? I think he's willing to pay for it, and he's going to be.
This came from the Planning Commission, so both items 1 and 2 were approved, forwarded and approved by the Planning Commission as followed the process. There were some conversations at Planning Commission. This is sewer-only extension. They are not receiving water at this location from this city. They will have access to water through Tri-County.
Okay.
Conversation really regarding fire protection, because that is not something that the city can offer at that location. That was
Okay.
the biggest item, but it was recommended approval by the Planning Commission.
And so, but you're willing to undertake all the costs, correct, Mr. Haggerty? And you're going to build 7 townhouses? Yes, sir. Awesome, good. That's great. That's good to hear.
Mr. Newman, this is a hilly area. I used to live out that way, so I see it's a gravity sewer extension. Is there going to be any issues with that being in the topography out there? And I know you're not city court, but.
And I apologize for that. This has been reviewed by City Corps, and they have no issue with that. So I'm
Okay.
sure that confidence they'll have that meeting state requirements.
Okay.
With this being in our planning boundary, is this in our planning boundary?
Yes, sir.
It is.
With it being in the planning boundary, is it getting built to our codes?
So this is within the planning boundary, but he is only building 7 units, and it's less than 5 acres, so he does not meet any of the thresholds to fall under regulation of the Land Subdivision and Development Code for large-scale developments. So this is the only time that we will see this. This is not something that would be subject to our review for permitting purposes. We did talk about the annexation agreement, as that is one of the conditions that Planning Commission did recommend, since it is adjacent to city limits, and that's why that conversation regarding fire protection came up, because it's not something that we can offer to them, and we have no authority to come in and do any inspections on his project. Now, he did say that he is going to be building to standards, and is willing to go through that annexation process prior to final occupancy, but would prefer to stay in the county during construction.
I just don't want to end up in a situation like we have in that neighborhood at Shallow Manor where we're about to spend millions of dollars on drainage because they didn't abide by the code. So that's where my history comes from.
I'm in full agreement, and then now I have a question since you brought up fire protection, and our fire marshal, Mr. Sedian, is here, so can you, because we've got several of these kind of things that are built outside of city limits, and then they do get annexed, or it becomes the city's issue, so the water lines and stuff, we're going to have proper water lines that eventually could a fire truck hook up to them, or I'm just trying to prevent things for a council 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Because we're sitting in with some of this stuff right now.
Right. So you're right on the nose, Mr. Gray. So one of the things, with all due respect, with set of plans, architectural stamps, things like that, what we're missing is the review and the inspections and the certificates. So you're correct, and I've made these statements of record before. When you extend just sewer, normally in the city limits of Russellville, water and sewer go together. If water and sewer go together, you get water, you follow the city corporation fire protection policy. That's ensuring that you get, the right diameter size water lines. You'll get some kind of fire protection. Now, we got a little bit of we've got Tri-County out there, right? So in addition to not really knowing flows and things like this, we don't have any jurisdiction over fire protection in that area. Now, what happens when we annex? Well, we annex basically what was out there, and that's why when Mr. Olson brought up questions about Shiloh, I've gotten calls from Shiloh before from residents that were like, how come you all didn't look at this closer before we bought? Now, one thing about townhomes, here's the thing: if it's a single family dwelling, just one home, it's not that big of an issue. If it's a duplex, it's not that big of an issue. If you follow state code, and this is what Nick's going to try to do, but in order to an exception to a fire sprinkler in a residence above a triplex is building a townhouse. Townhouse units are individual single-family units that are smacked together with a 2-hour non-penetrated firewall. Now, the only way you know that's being done right is so that you have to inspect it. So a townhouse unit is built entirely different than a duplex or even an apartment. So we don't have any way of looking at that. And so ultimately, I brought this up on some other properties that we've extended the sewer before. And at the end of the day, a lot of times in the rural areas, you don't have control and the residents don't know what they're buying. This is a little closer. This potentially could be annexed. And again, like I brought up with the Planning Commission, you're really looking at a sewer extension, and that's it. But along with that, as Ms. Johnell brought up, is the potential for annexation, and what's there is what you get. So I I just kind of wanted to make a statement. Could be good, could be bad. Nick may be doing a perfect job as far as building the townhome, but we can't. We have no control of that. That's outside our jurisdiction.
What's the minimum diameter line you need for fire protection in general for something like that?
Well, a hydrant shall sit on no smaller than a 6-inch, right? But depending on a 6-inch diameter line, right? Public main. So, depending on the GPMs, the gallons per minute, the flow out in that area, and also depending on pressures and things like that. I mean, you could need an 8. Generally in a residential neighborhood, it's not any larger than an 8-inch. But like I said, I think, isn't that water line a tri-county line running out? Yeah, so right now it's a tri-county line. So, it's a little more complicated. You can do agreements, but anyway, that's, to answer your question, that's the annexation bit.
How close is our city corp water to this? Don't know. Okay. Yeah, I think it's on the east side of Gum anyway, isn't it? I think all the water's on the east side of Gum. I don't have a GIS here, so okay. It what? It's a block away. Thank you, Mr. Garza.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, but we don't have any, the thing is, we don't have any purview over this because Mr. Haggerty is doing everything correct. He's coming to us. He's asking for permission to extend the sewer just because we own the sewer lines in City Corp. So Mr. Haggerty's doing everything within his rights and responsibilities, and he's going to. We don't have any purview over it. So
I was going to say, is there something in the agreement that says that shall be annexed after construction?
I don't know that.
No, I think
There's
that-
I
nothing
think
in
that's a
there?
voluntary annexation, is it not?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a voluntary annexation. It would be up to Mr. Haggerty to, if Mr. Haggerty's willing to incur the cost of extending the sewer, then it's a voluntary annexation on his behalf, and the county judge would also have to sign off on it, and then we would have to accept it.
Well, it says it's a stipulation from the planning commission, annex the property prior to the extension being completed as the property is adjacent to city limits. So
Does it? Is it saying that it has
that's what I was asking about. What did that mean? What does that mean?
yeah, that's what I want to know.
I think in the
Sarah, can you
discussion,
answer
in the discussion at Planning Commission, and Sarah, when you get up here, you can tell me if I'm remembering correctly, but I think the discussion was before it was actually connected to the structure.
Before it was put
That-
into use.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
before it could be used, before it could be connected to the building, he had to go through voluntary annexation.
Okay.
Now, just real quick before, I did have a question for Mr. Haggerty. You had offered, when we were talking about fire at the Planning Commission last week, you offered yourself that you would be willing to put in a hydrant on the property. And we had a discussion afterwards about talking to City Corp to see if that was even feasible with the lines that were out there. And I was just curious if you'd had a chance to speak with them since about that.
I hadn't talked with Tri-County, but I did talk with David, and he said that it's very likely that it's possible to put a hydrant out there. And I wouldn't mind doing so either.
Oh, there's an 8-inch line there. Did you say, is the
Oh,
8-inch a
okay,
block
magic
away? Or the 8 inches on his property?
No, it's across the road.
It's across the road.
For the record, David Garza with Barrett and Associates. So the 8-inch city line that comes in goes up to the road there at Magnolia Ridge and comes into Magnolia Ridge. It's about a block to the west of Mr. Haggerty's property. The line that comes down Mr. Haggerty's line is Tri-County, and it comes on the north side of Gum Street, comes down into Huntington Place. When it hits Huntington Place, it changes to a 6-inch. We put that line in for Jim Knight and Pete Simpson back at, I think it was around 96,
Yeah, it was a long
97.
time ago.
It was a long time ago. We were involved in it. There was a funny story. There was the property just north of that. They were from California, and the wife said, "You're not going through my tree." So we had to go around it, and 6 months later, lightning blew the tree up. Did, absolutely did.
So.
But it's a 6-inch line.
He does have a 6-inch that he could possibly
does
do.
have a
Okay,
6-inch
okay,
line.
that's good, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Mr. Haggerty, I definitely want you to build this. It's just, we've got chapter and verse of these things where something is built and then the city it annexes or whatever, and then the taxpayer's got to come back and put in an 8-inch line or whatever, then that's what we try to avoid, is to save the taxpayers things that developers do. So I want to get this done. It's just, I want to make sure that the city's covered, and the future is covered, and our firefighters have what they need if they wind up out there assisting somebody in the county.
Yeah, and the only thing that really wasn't made clear, and it is now, is the fact that it's not really voluntary annexation. The planning commission notes say that you will annex. So that's going to be, that puts us, like I said, that puts us in the same position, because it's not going to be a matter of years before we annex. It's, if I understand it right, he builds it, and then before he hooks up, he says, hey, I want to annex, and then we're stuck with it. And so there's got to be, there's just got to be a better way that we can do that. I mean, the last neighborhood that got annexed, I mean, those people, if everybody runs their yard sprinklers, they're going to find out that that was unfair to those property owners up there. And so that's, we have no control over the water, but we're just trying to get them sewer. So I just want to make a statement of record and just, and think about that. Maybe there's a better way to plan in the future.
Is it feasible to hook to City Corp instead of Tri-County? I mean, what would be the difference in expense if we're talking a block as opposed to across the road?
That's an easily, it's a $50,000.
And,
Oh, yeah, I used to live out there, yeah.
and
All right.
And just the one more point I want to make is that it's not so much, Mr. Gray, about we need a hydrant. It's that we're gonna jump on a 7-unit townhome, and we've not done one inspection. That's where my concerns are.
So
Well, but
in a townhome, there should be firewalls between units? Is that what, and that's what
Yeah.
you're going to do? Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
But
but
you can't
here's
expect
the.
it. I understand.
that's my
Yeah,
point.
but here's the thing is that, I mean, we do not have any jurisdiction to go out there and inspect. The only thing, like, we can wish and hope, and, we can make changes to what we want to do in the future, but as of right now, the only thing we can decide is, are we going to extend sewer there or not? Now,
Or
Hey,
you can also not annex them if you choose not to do that. I mean, I know the planning commission has sent it to you with an annex condition. You can allow him to extend the sewer without the annexation, so that you're not in that situation. So you could do that.
And
Hey.
I would prefer that if that's an option.
hey,
I mean, since you're bringing it up, would that be an option for me to tap into sewer, pay for it myself, and choose not to annex?
It's not up to me. It's
Well,
up to
to
the
everybody else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, like I said, it's up to the voting council members if they. But what I was just telling Mr. Keller is you could make a recommendation of approval with that condition removed.
But that still puts future councils and mayors in the same position that we're always in when something gets approved, and then, God forbid, there's a fire, or people can't water their lawns or whatever. That's where we wind up.
Why can an
But I mean-
inspection not be required to agree to extend the sewer?
Because it's in the county. He's in the county. He's not under our purview or our jurisdiction.
We don't have the jurisdiction out there. As I understand it, Sarah can tell me if I'm wrong. The only way we can, with the exception of like the large scale development out in our planning boundaries, the only way that we can have jurisdiction to inspect within our planning boundaries is if we go ahead and zone all of our planning boundary, which is that correct? I'm sorry, am I misunderstanding that? and which we haven't done. Like, there is something that we'd have to do to our planning boundary in order to inspect everything.
In order, Justin is correct. If we want to have the authority to require compliance with our zoning and building codes, we would, well, just with our zoning codes, we would have to zone within those areas. I am not sure that with what's going on in the legislature right now that we are going to have authorization in the planning boundary at all. So this could be a little bit of a moot point. If you don't want to annex, you don't necessarily have to, but at some point, this property will be inside city limits, and these are very valid comments and questions and concerns regarding fire protection. I don't know that we're going to solve it tonight.
Hey, I had a couple people reach out to me about this, and they asked me why, or if, I don't think this is anything we can do tonight, but why do they not require you to annex already in order for us to give you the city sewer? I had a couple people ask, could we make it a requirement that he annexes before we give them the access?
Well, there are people that extend sewer lines without being in the city limits, but he's doing it at his own expense.
That's what I told her, but I wasn't sure about, so we can't require that, right? That has to
You
be
can require him to annex prior to connecting, prior to extending and connecting. That is your purview as the city council. Historically, we have not required that here in Russellville. In other areas of the country, that is something that they do require. Like, if you want to connect, you want to extend and connect, you're going to go through the annexation process first, because then you're subject to the rules and regulations of the community. But
Okay.
that's not something that we have historically done here, and so didn't necessarily want to start doing that. At this point, we need housing. A 7-unit townhome will be something that's beneficial, but it is adjacent to city limits, and so we do want, when it's adjacent to city limits, we do want to annex them, because that's part of slowly growing our community.
And I will add that historically, we have had to pay for other people's stuff that don't
Yes,
do
sir.
their things. And I'm
Yes.
tired of doing that, so that's,
I mean, here's something that I just wanted to throw into the conversation about this, and that is that it's like, okay, well, it's just right next to city limits. It's not going to be within city limits unless it's annexed in. So, we don't need to worry. We have to worry about, if it's in the city, that if there was a fire at the structure. And we have mutual aid agreements with the, so I mean, if there's a fire there, it's not like we're not going to be there. So whether they're in the city or not, if there's a fire, we are going to be there. I think that a very prudent move if we choose to extend this, would be to take Mr. Haggerty up on his offer to put in a hydrant there. So there is at least a hydrant that the fire department that has jurisdiction there, or our trucks if we go out in a mutual aid incident. I mean, like, we can't do anything about inspecting the building. What we can do is at least try to put something out there, so if the worst case scenario, and I guarantee you, there's no one here who wants a fire to happen less than Mr. Haggerty. But I think second would be us. But if that did happen, by having a hydrant there, that at least increases the likelihood that we would be successful in saving the structure and in keeping people from incurring injury to themselves. We can't do anything about what is being built there other than we're going to either allow sewer there or not, and under what stipulations we would allow it.
Mr. Setian, what would a hydrant, like he's talking about, do for the ISO rating? Would that change it any? You're selling these units, right? They're going to be rentals. So we're talking about your insurance rates. Okay.
The mayor's not going to allow me to come to any more of these meetings, so I need to shut up.
I asked you to come up here.
Again, and we're focused on the hydrant, but again, like I said, sometimes and it is rental, which is better, because a lot of times townhouses you sell as individual dwellings. Anyway, that's his thing. But at the end of the day, like I said, we get a lot of times calls from citizens who have purchased something substandard, and so it's about, is the structure safe? Like when they bring in their electrical service, is it penetrating the attic space and now leaves these 2-hour separations vulnerable? I mean, we can talk about code all day, and so it doesn't affect. One hydrant is not what the ISO is about.
Okay.
ISO does a full blanket review, and they do look at water, they do look at communications, they do look at fire protection, which, by the way, Mr. Keller, in all these areas, we have what's called auto aid. So if that's Crow Mountain's area, without even them asking for our help, Engine 3 and Battalion 1 is boom, they're out there. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, Mr.
And I'm
Keller
sure
knew
you
that.
guys would rather show up there with a hydrant to plug into than without one.
Yeah.
Right. Anything further on this? Yes, I mean, I mean, basically, if you want to look into this a little bit more, then one of you will have to make a motion next week. So you can educate yourself, reach out to Mr. Haggerty, reach out to Ms. John Dahl, reach out to Mr. Newman, reach out to Mr. Shettian, because at some point, a motion would have to be made in one direction or the other. So, and when I recommended I didn't recommend when I said that you could approve it without the annexation. That was just telling you there are different options there. It was not a recommendation. Just want to make sure that that was stated. So, all right.
Also, to address a couple of the concerns about building up to standard, as it is now in the planning boundary, then I could go out there without a set of plans. The land would perk for up to 3 units, so I could build a triplex out there without any set of plans. I could build a piece of junk. I wouldn't have to put a hydrant out there. I mean, I could do, substandard work, but what I'm proposing is to build with a set of plans, build it up to standard, put a hydrant out there, and build more units for Russellville.
And we appreciate your
Yeah, we understand
willingness
that.
to do that.
I have one more question, and this is piggybacking off of something that we talked about at the Planning Commission. You are not a contractor, but you are working on getting your contractor's license.
That's
And
right.
this project is like the culmination of you getting your contractor's license.
Yes, sir.
Now, and part of that, is someone going to come out and take a look at the work that you've done to make sure that you've done it right before they give you that license?
I mean, yeah, if I had any questions, then I've got multiple friends that are contractors. They could come out and answer any of my questions. I could also reach out to the architect or the structural engineer that did these set of plans. My dad's an electrician. He's going to be doing the work. I've built 2 houses from the ground up, so I know what I'm doing. It's just more of the same.
No, I know that. I'm saying, like, I mean, I couldn't put up a cardboard structure and then go apply for my contractor's license. Someone's going to come out and take a look and see that it's not oh man, this is cardboard, this doesn't count. So someone's going to come out and like double check your work on this to get your license.
Well, they need
at some point in time, right?
They need 3 or 5 references. And so far, then, I've sold one of my properties, and I've worked with a couple contractors, but this would help me build my years of experience as well as references who are living in something that I built.
All right. Anything else? All right. We'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Haggerty. All right. Item 2 is consideration resolution setting a public hearing for the vacation 20-foot alley between lots 12, 13, Block 42, JL Shin Edition. This is from RBI Investments. Anyone have any issues on that? I don't see any issues. Item 3 is consideration of an ordinance amending the current zoning code for the city of Russellville, Arkansas, ordinance 2443 and other purposes. Mr. Newman or Ms. John, you want to come to the podium real quick? Either one, just real quick, fill us in on that.
Yes, so the long-range planning committee met, had proposal to update zoning code, text amendments, planning commission passed it. Then the legislature started having some conversations, and they're going to be, they're working on legislation that will pass regarding accessory dwelling units. And so I would like to pull two of the sections from the zoning code proposals, Article 2.3.1, and then Article 3.1.4 through 3.1.7 relating to accessory dwelling units to kind of wait and see what the legislature's final bill looks like to make sure that we're in compliance with what they're proposing that the legislature. And if we need to make updates to this, we will make updates through the long-range planning committee and bring this back for your review after our
And
next
you'll get all
meeting.
that information to Ms. Skelton, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
and
will
Trey,
get,
and
I will get all
Mr.
of
Smith and Ms. Skelton.
the current language being proposed
Okay.
to,
All right.
yeah.
So you're pulling it out and then bring it back in at a later date?
Yes, because it appears that our proposal may not align with what the legislature is proposing, and I don't want to be in conflict with that. So we're going to pull it for now and then bring it back next quarter.
Anyone else have anything? All right. If no one else has anything, we'll adjourn and come back Thursday. Thank you.